it's game week. It's game week. Well, great to have you guys here today. The university obviously had some news this morning that that I'd like to at least start off commenting on first. But the first thing I'll say, really my only really comments really I care to have at this point is just that grateful and appreciative of this last 7 years working with Heather Like. She's done a great job. She's got great energy, and appreciate everything she's done there. And again, I wish her and her family, all the luck, personally and professionally, as far as her next move. She's a strong person and will land on her feet. I know Chancellor Gable is committed to excellence in athletics, committed to the excellence in championships in Pitt football. So I got a ton of trust in her and what she's going to do here in the future here at Pitt. And then with Jen Toscano, who's been here a lot longer than I have, but she's been here for my 10 seasons. So we've got a great relationship as well. And I trust that Jen will do an outstanding job, leading the entire athletic department as well as football. And I'll probably sit down and talk with her later this afternoon. But we're here for some football, and really we want to focus on football, focus on this football team, and focus on this gigantic rivalry game that we're going to see here at 3:30 on Saturday in Pittsburgh. So with that, just kind of close on Cincinnati quickly. Obviously, it was a great come-from-behind victory. Couldn't be prouder. Had a great team meeting last night with our guys. Couldn't be prouder just the way they took care of business. And the business on the field is what we do. That's why we play this game. That's why we coach this game. But the resilience our kids showed. Fighting through adversity. We say adversity. Our guys are used to dealing with adversity, and I can't tell you our sideline was as good the week before on the sideline in the second half as it was this week. The excitement on the sideline, the belief, looking those guys in the eyes, knowing that we were going to win that game in the fourth quarter. There was just belief, and I can't tell you I've seen that, always. I told them last night the last, 20-point deficit that I remember being involved in was, Baylor in the Cotton Bowl, and we came back and won that one too. So they don't happen every week. They don't happen every day, and it is hard to come back from that deficit, and that tells you what kind of football team we have. So obviously, I thought the end of the third quarter, maybe that last series offensively, last series defensively in the third quarter, and that fourth quarter. As a whole was dominant by our football team. And again, you talk about how you start, and it's really how you finish. We stuck to our guns, and you always talk about belief in what we're doing and how we're doing it. We left a lot of plays out there in the first half that you'd like back, offensively, defensively, and special teams in all phases. So there's a lot to clean up, but I feel good. When you walk off the field with a win and you have a lot to clean up, and you have a good team meeting the next day to start to clean up. There's nothing better than that, to be honest with you. You make those kind of mistakes in the first half, coming here with a loss, it's never fun. But, credit goes to our players, the men in the arena. They got it done, and it's a tribute to these guys that sit in the front rows, our seniors, our captains, and our leadership group that, again, passes on the message and gets it done. Obviously, gigantic, as I said earlier, really, really big rivalry game here, and there's maybe not many, more important rivalry games in the country. And, you guys can talk about the River City rivalry. We all know that's not really a rivalry this weekend. If you don't know anything about rivalries, this is the one. This is the one that people in Pittsburgh live for, people down south live for. And, again, they got a great football team. Neil Brown's a heck of a football coach. He's calling the plays. I think schematically, he's very similar to Satterfield. Last week, I think I got a ton of respect for him as a football coach, as a scheme guy. He does really good stuff. They will challenge you on really in all three phases of the game. They'll be very multiple on defense, running a bunch of different fronts and coverages, none that we haven't seen thus far. We may even see some free safety stuff. Who knows? But they do a great job there. Again, I think one thing to note, just when you think about who they are, and they've got 2 games in, obviously already like we do. They got 11 transfers into 2 deep on defense, so they've got a lot of new guys over there that I think when you look at that, they're going to get better every week and fit into their scheme. Then offensively, all starts with their quarterback, Garrett Green. I think him and Donaldson in the backfield with Jaheim, White in the backfield as well. I mean, they like to run the ball. They're going to throw RPOs. We're going to see all that, and they got really, I think, talented receivers out there. They got deep ball guys. They got intermediate guys. They got guys that can make plays, and we'll see a bunch of RPOs. We'll see deep balls. We're going to see it all. We're going to see everything they got. And, I think you can throw every record out. We could be 0-2. They could be 0-2. It doesn't matter. This will be a knockdown, drag out battle at Acrisure Stadium on Saturday. And, they'll be ready. We'll be ready. We're excited for it. I know our team's excited for it. Questions?
How can you say about how she supported you from when she came in and took over the athletic department and, obviously, negotiating and extending with you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, talked about, her appreciation already. I really don't want to get into a whole lot of, I want to talk about our football team. It's football week, right? I mean, I've been locked up in a room there, and I had, really no idea. Everybody's leaving me alone thinking, but, I'll answer your question, Chris. I mean, she's been outstanding. And supportive. Like I said, I can't thank her enough and her family. Eli's a supporter. He loves football. He loves Pitt. They love Pitt. It's what it is. So really supportive.
Coach, I know you just want to talk about football, but please allow me just this one question about Heather.
We're not going to address any more administrative questions. So if you have a football question, we'll entertain that. But as Coach said, he made his comment about today's news. We're going to talk about the football game. If you'd like to talk about Cincinnati, if you'd like to talk about West Virginia, we'll take that. With all due respect.
Questions?
Pat, what have you learned about bringing a transfer quarterback up to speed? I mean, you've done it the last couple of years, and I mean, this time you got a freshman coming in, and obviously Eli looks like he's, picked things up relatively quickly.
And what
you learned about the process of getting a transfer quarterback and putting him in when he's out there week one?
I think everyone's different. You can go all the way back to Nathan Peterman. Everyone's a little bit different. And there's transfer quarterbacks all over the country. It's the number one transfer position in the country. But I think you can't sit there and say this is what I've learned because of him or him or him. Like they're all different. There's when you look at people. They're all individually different. They have different characteristics, and I guess maybe the one thing I know is just be detailed. As far as I'm going to make sure I dot the I's and cross the T's as far as what we're doing in that range. I mean, I don't want to want to make the right move and be careful about everything we do. Period.
What did you learn about Eli over the course of that game Saturday?
I think anytime you start off and you're moving the ball down the field and you go down there and you throw a pick. Okay, how are you going to respond? I mean, there's the first adversity, and I think it's tough on a quarterback. He's got the toughest job on the field, he's got the job, and how did he respond to that? May have had a couple up and down series, but like in the end, I think just go to the second half and look at the videotape. I learned that he's tough inside, and he can wipe it off, and he's moving on, and he did one hell of a job in the second half.
And I think I know the answer to this question.
Good. Then don't even ask it, Garrett. I'm just kidding.
I don't want to speak for you, so I need you to say it. At any point in that game, did you think of making a change in quarterback?
No. Again, I think when you do that, when you do that, again, I always say, stick with your decisions and go with it. And obviously, we made the right decision. Coach Bell made the right decision. It's not easy, right? And you have to, you have to kind of stick with what you feel, and what you saw in practice every day in practice.
How was Cade, during the bad times and during the good times? Demeanor that he had?
Oh, he's got a great demeanor. He's all Mr. Positive. He's more positive than me, I can tell you that. Cade's, like, oh, we'll be okay, Coach. I'm like, holy cow. Wish I was as young as you and as positive, but that goes to stress with the head coach. But no, he was. I mean, again, here's a great thing. These iPads make things a little bit different. Okay, they really do. The iPads are game changers. I mean, the National Football League doesn't get to use them. They got still pictures, and what do you get out of a still picture? So the video and showing him as the game goes on, like, hey, you see, I got it, Coach, I got it. I mean, those are the things that we didn't have a year ago. that I think really helps out our offense. But Cade's he's outstanding. He's positive, and and he's you talk about adversity. Yeah, they struggled early in the game, but like it didn't slow him down either. Just like a quarterback, it didn't slow him down.
Pat, you just mentioned the iPads, and I know you mentioned it after the game on Saturday about making adjustments in game, particularly on like defense. Do you think that you guys come back without the use of the iPads and having that technology?
Yeah, there's no question. I think we still get good eyes. We have great eyes in the box. We have great eyes on the sideline. We got someone looking at the left side of the line. Someone's looking at the left guard. Someone's looking at the center. We got enough people that they have a job to say this is what happened on a play. But to your question, Amanda, like I think the difference is when the kids can see it. Okay. Even when we gave up the one touchdown pass, on a pressure, and Javon McIntyre, his footwork wasn't good. I'll just leave it at that. And his footwork looks good 99% of the time. But I grabbed him right after without seeing the video because I heard what Coach Sanders said up in the box, and said his footwork, he did something wrong. We call it torch, doesn't matter, but he didn't do it right with what we asked him to do. And Javon's like, Coach, I did it right. But the eye in the sky doesn't lie. I mean, to be able to go and because sometimes kids think they're doing it right, but for him to see that it wasn't exactly the way we needed to be done and it could be eliminated, those are the things. And, Sunday's too late, for someone that can look at it and go, I got you, Coach. You're right, as opposed to, because we can see it, but, do they believe it? It's hard not to believe it when you see it on tape on a Sunday. It's even nice to see it, at 2:38 p.m. in the middle of the third quarter.
How many iPads do you have on the sideline?
Oh boy, Jerry, asked me a tough question. On the sideline, I think we have a total of 18, and I'm not going to give you our split, how many up, how many down, but we have a total of 18, Coach. Right. Total of 18 that we're allowed to distribute, and we kind of spread them where we need them, and like the O-line's going to get 2, right? I mean, Coach can't show everybody. I mean, we wish they had some big screens out there, but I saw the Steelers at practice the other day having a big screen TV out there in the middle of the field. I kind of like that idea. I'm going to steal that one here shortly.
You talked about Eli's apology after the game. What does that say about his character?
I mean, you guys can make that determination. I mean, he cares about the team. Just tells you he's. I mean, obviously, you stated the obvious. And again, when you get to watch the iPad and, going back to that, again, you get to see it. I mean, it just tells you what kind of kid he is. He's a super kid, like all of our guys are, But he's got the hardest job on the football team. It's not easy, playing on the road for your first time, your second start after a lot of success the week before. And again, I'd say he had a lot of success throwing for, 3 TDs again. And, he made the plays when he needed to. And that's what you want a quarterback to do is take you on the comeback, right? I mean, and he made the throws he needed to make. And did some nice things.
Last year, you commented, at least against Wake Forest and Pro, I think a couple other times, about how teams on the road were simulating snaps against you guys and clapping a line. That was a penalty. They gave you guys the first down and the fourth down. Scott Satterfield complained about that afterwards.
Yeah.
Is that something that you had talked with any officials about, like, hey, look for this, or do you think it was just finally called?
Well, in our first scrimmage in Acrisure Stadium, Kyle Lewis came up, in their A gap and kind of gave it one of these. And, they threw a flag. So, I mean, we've discussed it. There's a lot of things you can't do. We had the officials come in and talk to our entire team about what you can do. They've made it hard on defense. I mean, we're not even trying to move. I mean, Keyshawn Camp used to, when we stem our guys, used to do this, go from one stance to another stance, from, the A gap to the B gap, and you can't do that anymore. You got to be very careful. You got to, move like a, like you can't move, And Keyshawn was the only one who did it. It was just the way if he moving his arms. That's a penalty nowadays, so he can get called. In our opener, we had the same thing. We got warned, I believe, in the opener, and I forget who it was. It might have been Lovelace. Early in that game, maybe the first third down, that they warned us about it. And I think they were warned about, what they were doing, whether it was, barking out some cadence as well as, moving their head real quick. I mean, I think it was, they can't make those quick type motions and movements anymore on the D-line. Again, they've, paralyzed us on defense. So it's something we talk about all the time. We have to move slow. But sometimes you got to get lined up, and that won't be the first time it's called all year. That's the rule. And obviously the officials did a nice job of administering that.
Is that what Cincinnati did? Moving around too much?
Yeah, and I didn't zero in on it. I saw first down. I kind of got excited, Jerry. But yeah, that's what, but they were, yeah.
I think how the offensive line plays, especially with Ryan not in the lineup.
I think I mentioned it after the game. I think they did a pretty darn good job without Jacoby being in the lineup. Jason Collier, had a really nice game in there. And again, I told you he came in that second half. I didn't know if he was going to go, and I'm like, oh boy, on to the next. So maybe your third guard, right? But he came out and says, wasn't like, hey, Jason, we need you. There's no begging or like. He said, Coach, I'm ready to go. You got a little therapy, you got a little, tape job, and my hats go off to our medical people and Chris Hanks, our trainer, of getting him back out on the field. And it's hard when you're 320 pounds, you get a hammy. I didn't think you could do that. I mean, when you're slow like me, you don't get hammies. But he's, and I tell you what, he was out there pulling and running. I mean, he was that's impressive. But the O-line played solid. I mean, Branson Taylor had an outstanding game. As well at the left tackle spot. So we were happy with the offensive line. It's a good defensive line. The Godfather is a good football player.
Sorry about that.
Very good.
In terms of Saturday's game, and with all the new coaches and players that you guys have, do you guys do anything special to kind of prepare them for the atmosphere, or give them a history of the rivalry or anything like that?
For this Saturday, you're saying?
Yeah, for this Saturday.
We're always going to talk about our opponent. We talked about him last night. We always end Sunday with, okay, we're moving on to the next, right? And so we're always going to prepare them. Prepare them for the noise that we're going to get this weekend, just like we prepare them for the noise we had last weekend. Preparation's everything. But it's the details of what we do, you prepare for the music you're going to see, the style of music. I want our kids to get every possible thing out of that game they possibly can, where they can go in and say that was exactly right. And I asked our offense guys, was the noise louder in practice or at the stadium on game day? He said, Coach, no question, in practice. And that's what we want it to be, is to be louder in practice. So you go out there and it's nothing.
But just in terms of the history of the rivalry and things like that.
Do we teach them about the history? I mean, I think they know. I mean, I think we counted 73 players in this room were on that trip last year. We took everybody, that we could take. Obviously the seniors graduated, so they weren't in the room last night. But we have 73 players that have been on that trip last year that were in that game. Probably got another 46 or 50 guys that were, here in 22 when we played them at home. So, but just, we're going to educate them on the rivalry, what it is. And, there was no education last week. Education for a rivalry game this week, absolutely.
John, you had said something during the offseason about how you really learn a rivalry when you have a tough loss. Has there been a lot of talk about West Virginia leading up to this season, even before this week, because of that game?
No, not at all. I mean, we didn't talk about that at all. I mean, we're focused on game one, game two. The focus last night, at the end of that team meeting at 8:30, turned to West Virginia, just last night. But I told them just a story about rivalries, and protecting your family, protecting your people in this room. And we play for each other in this room. And I told him a story just when I was at Michigan State. I didn't really know what a rivalry game was. I told him last night, when I was in college, our rivalry was Rhode Island versus Brown, in front of 7,000 people. Wasn't like, it was like, okay. And they were a good football team at the time, but it was like, it wasn't really a rivalry. There wasn't much to it. But I learned what a rivalry was in 2007 at Michigan State. When we played Michigan, that's when I found oh, okay, I get it now. Okay. It was real, and I think after that 2007 game, I think probably won 6 of the next 7, and the only loss being one that they beat us, I guess 12 to 10, kicked 4 field goals.
What was Rhode Island versus Brown like?
Jerry, I knew you were going to ask that question. You got a brown shirt on. That color kind of reminds me of the Brown Bears. Who our defense quality control coach is there now, Phil DeCapita. But it was, I don't remember. It wasn't that very good. It wasn't very good. Okay, let's put it that way.
Pat, do you have a
like we see now?
Do you have a better appreciation for what this game means than you did when you guys first played them a couple of years ago?
I think anytime you're in that rivalry, yes. I think every year it adds to it, right? I mean, I think every year there's a different flavor, And I don't, like I said, I know from 2007 what a rivalry game was. Just with that game and knowing what's on the line and the people you affect and the Pitt fans and the Pitt faithful and then the Panther Pitt, everybody that's involved in that game, everybody is into it. But I think every year adds another flavor. I really do. I think it's just another there's another scar that has to be repaired, regardless of what it is. And hey, this game this weekend is why you play the game of football. This is why you coach football. This is it.
Pat, what can you say about K's offense, especially in how it tailored what it had to do this past week to beat a defense like Cincinnati? You don't always see with dropping 8 in coverage, max coverage things to give Eli opportunities.
I mean, he's sitting in his little office right now, but no one's really sat in his office for like the last 5 years. He's sat in his office and he's staring at he's got like 2 monitors. I only got 1 monitor in my office. I can't operate 2. He's, the young guy's got 2. He's looking at 2 different game tapes. I mean, he's got all kinds of stuff. He's got his script up. He might have 3, matter of fact. I can't even see him. When I go in there, he's covered with screens, thanks to our video and technology department, Seth Graham. But he... again, that's what you do as an offense coordinator. Like, every week is a little bit different, depending on who you're facing, what you have to do, and we had a lot of new stuff in last week that we didn't have in. So it's like, that's all part of it, is getting that first half in. It's not like anything we did the week before really mattered for the quarterback, or for the offensive line, or for the receivers. They're all different stuff based on what they did coverage-wise. And like I said, we'll continue to brush up on that stuff this week as well. You just add it to your repertoire. If they come out and do this, this is what we got. You guys got it now? Got it. We're good. But I think that's the important thing to take away from it is it's not easy, and I think Coach Bell did a great job of adjusting, and we'll have to do the same thing this week.
How early in the week do you guys can sit down Sunday morning and be like, hey, these are the notes that we have as far as the things that we want to see if we can make work against this next team? Like, when does that happen where you sit down with them and you guys go over, like, what's going to be the big thing to focus on?
Sunday morning, it's all on closing the chapter on the next, the first one is, hey, grading the tape on Sunday morning, grading the tape, getting all our goals, all the things, what did we do? What did we do well? What do we, need to fix? What were preparation areas? And we do that offensively, defensively, and special teams wise, just so, so we have a book on every opponent. For the next time you may play him, whether it's at Louisville or Cincinnati. But then Sunday, like I'll meet with the offense, spend 3 hours with them watching the game tape and reviewing it and talking about it. Then I'll go, while I'm doing that, the defense is working on the next opponent, and then we'll flip it. Then I'll watch with the defense and the offense. So, I would say probably around 3 o'clock yesterday, the offense is starting to work on them. But then as soon as the kids come in here to meet, then we go into corrections and fix the tape up. And then that's why we finish, the evening with, special teams in here, closing the chapter on special teams and moving right on to the next opponent.
What are those monitors he has in his office? He kind of OC, you have to turn the lights on in his office and say, go home to your family?
I'm not doing that. Palmer, his daughter's going to come here with his wife and bring cookies in or something like that. But, no, I don't have to. I mean, I'm never kicking anybody out of the office. Those guys know what they have to get done. It's get your job done. So, they work at it and they're efficient too. I would say that they're efficient too. Because you got to have rest too. You got to be fresh as coaches and players. I think freshness is key too. So you can't, work all night and expect to be, productive the next day.
Coach Desmond Reed, historic day on Saturday for the university. Do you, at some point, you get concerned about the wear and tear on his body at some point during a game, during the season, to pull back a little bit?
It all depends. I mean, what makes you great? I mean, I've talked about how tough he is, how physical he is. If you try to pull back on most players, they're going to be like, Coach, did you see what I did last week? I want to do that again. And it's all in your preparation. It's how you practice. Okay, so we're not going to slow him down. He's going to do what he does, and I think he's in the weight room. He got recovery yesterday. He's got a lift in. There's nothing better after a game than a lift. Let me just tell you that. I mean, a lift after a game, it's not easy to go in there, but once you walk out of there and you tighten up your muscles, you feel much better after a nice recovery and a lift. Guarantee you that.
Was he in pain in the fourth quarter?
What's that?
Was he in any pain in the fourth quarter?
I never asked him. I think at the end of that fourth quarter, he was flying high. I think he was excited. What's that?
I noticed he was limping.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think.
You didn't notice that?
No. He didn't limp in here yesterday. I can guarantee you that.
How about the final questions? Anyone?
Conte had his career high in receiving yards in college against Cincinnati. How important was his play and his leadership during the win?
Yeah, I'm happy to see that, and I didn't know that. I'm glad you told me because EJ, failed to tell me that. He was talking about Desmond Reed, but Konate, couldn't be. I'm just busting you, EJ. But I didn't know that. But I kind of mentioned it last night, like he had a career. I called it a career day when I was talking about Konate in front of the team last night. But I didn't know it was his best day. But I mean, you talk about playmaker. I mean, he catches. I mean, the 2 big passes set up both field goals in the second quarter and the fourth quarter. 2 touchdown passes as well. I mean, that was a career day, regardless if yardage wise, catch wise. I don't know what. I don't care about all that stat stuff, but it was a career day for what I saw him do on the field and running, crisp routes. And I've said this all camp, guys. That guy, that guy has been, like as durable, as reliable as anybody in that, in that room. He's done it the right way. He works at it. He works at his trade. He's got a routine that he goes through on Mondays. Not every player has a routine. Like a coach has a routine. Like I do the same thing. At noon, I'm going to be in here with you. But prior to this, man, I'm like, I mean, knocking things out. He's got a routine like unlike most players. Okay, and I wish if everybody had a routine like him, as far as watching third down, watching first. He's got his film review. He does his homework. He's a pro. And 2 years ago, he came to my office and I thought he called a meeting. He was like, "Hey, coach, I need to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh gosh, what's going on?" And the conversation was, "Coach, I got to do a better job taking care of my body. I'm going to take the next step, and it's going to be about recovery. I don't do a good job taking care of my body." And and then from that day on, like he's taking care of his body like a pro. And that's that's kind of how he is in everything he does.
Rich, you got the last one.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, what can you say about how he approached this week, considering, last week he had the punt fumble that was returned for a touchdown, he dropped the touchdown, for him to lock in like that and to show that try to turn on have a career weekend.
Yeah, I mean, again, adversity, right? And he's got a lot of confidence, and we have a lot of confidence in him, and really everybody in this room that we put on that field. We better have confidence and trust they're going to get it done. But to put him back there to be in a punt return situation again, got faith. I mean, he did some great jobs at faking like he was going to catch that ball. But you got, he's a great decision maker. Again, sometimes players try to do a little too much, and that's what he did. In the opener, he was just wanted to go make a play. He wanted to take one to the house. Okay, he saw Dez do it. I'm going to get one too. And you get a little greedy, and you just got to, just do your job. Don't try to do too much. But Konate's, you love his attitude and the way he prepares.